Story 1. Losing my husband. He is my best friend. We have so much fun with all our weird inside jokes. I cannot even begin to fathom living in this world without him. Story 2. Losing my mother. I know one day it is coming. I know that I will be all right when that day comes, but I know it is going to hurt worse than I think. I try not to think about death too much, but I know it is there. It is just a matter of when. Story 3. I realistically think that my biggest fear is that the people I trust with everything do not actually care about me and are just using me. I am terrified of being alone. Story 4. Ultimately, what we do does not mean anything in the grand scheme of things. That is my biggest fear, that it is all for nothing. Story 5. Probably rabies due to its behavior and lethal effects. Second would be hyenas. They are larger than you think. Neither dog nor cat have bone-crushing bite force and target soft spots while you are alive, all while making a laughing sound. Story 6. If you asked me before I had my son, I would tell you I was not scared of dying young. Now I am terrified of it. My baby needs me, he is 8, but still. The thought of him growing up without me breaks my heart. I have to be healthy for him physically and mentally. Although I was passive and suicidal before parenthood, it has been a challenge at times. Story 7. Being in a car that drives off the side of a mountain and not dying immediately but getting stuck at the bottom with no one noticing me there. Story 8. Falling from something tall. I become physically frozen in fear if I am too close to the edge of a high place, which is why my friends and family have pictures of me crawling on my hands and knees at the Grand Canyon and the cliffs of Maher. Story 9. I have a fear of failure. It is why I work so hard at everything I do and why I struggle with starting new things. I have gotten better with age, but that fear is still there. Story 10. I have no friends or family to take my son if something happens to me. He will end up in the foster care system. I lose sleep over this. Story 11. Getting stuck in an elevator at a hotel, then having to make small talk despite not initiating or responding to it. Story 12. If I'm not interesting or outgoing enough, I'll end up friendless and alone. When I was in high school, all I did was be alone, but I was happy working on crafts and watching shows. I didn't mind how few friends I had or that we only hung out once or twice a month outside of school. Once I moved, I decided to try being more outgoing, building relationships, and working on my social skills. I got addicted to the instant serotonin boost of someone knowing me well and liking being around me, especially being front and center in a friend group. In high school, I had to be the person bringing people together or it would never happen, so naturally, I kept doing that after I moved to a big city. This led to me not really doing things alone anymore, which is a problem since 1, I'm naturally an introvert. I like being alone to experience things at my own pace, which recharges me, and 2, if the only thing I ever do is hang out with people, the only things I really have to talk about with others or other people, which feels slimy and gross. I've now built up a huge amount of anxiety around socialization and around people. I have a strong connection to a wide variety of people, and I'm afraid that now that I've realized it's unhealthy for me and stopped hanging out with many people as a result, I'm going to become uninteresting and people will drop me. I spread myself too thin, and now I feel I really need to pull back and spend much more time alone to recover from the vast social circles I forced myself to engage with but did not truly involve myself in. In summary, I'm afraid that if I do what's best for me, I'll end up alone. Story 13. Life is difficult. You need money to live well, but you have to work hard to earn money. I am not sure what I am meant to do now, and I fear for the future. I know I will not like it. I cannot pause time for 15 years, so there is not much I can do. Story 14. What if I am not here? What if I do nothing? What if my absolute value is 0? Was I born on a ticking clock just so time would pass me by? Why is it that with all I have and will have, it just slips through my fingers? Is there a reason for me being me? Or am I just another roll of the dice? Another random probability in an infinite cycle. Anyway, sorry about that, but you asked. Story 15. Someone I love is going through something that may lead to them taking their life, and I do not know or get to help. Story 16. The idea that time will never stop. Eternity scares me more than anything else. Not death, falling, or heartbreak. None of it scares me more than knowing that we will all just be a speck in the grand scheme of the universe and be forgotten for millennia to come. Story 17. To lose my eyesight. I have been almost blind since my childhood, and I cannot imagine my life without the small amount of eyesight I have. Story 18. Being invisible in the world makes you question your existence and whether you matter at all after a while. Story 19. Being trapped in a burning building. Being trapped in a tight underground cave. Not sure which is worse. The cave might take longer, though. Story 20. Losing my parents and my husband. As prepared as I can be for my parents' deaths, I would be lying if I said I am not terrified. I am their full-time caregiver, and I am afraid I do not know how to go on with life once they are gone. As for my husband, he is a saint. He is the only one who appreciates me for who I am. He loves me no matter how chaotic everything is. He is the very calm, chill person who is always there when I need him. I cannot imagine having a life without him by my side. He is the one who keeps me alive. May I have the strength to pull through when it happens one day. Story 21. Being alone was difficult. I was left alone for a month, my mental health declined significantly, and I was in and out of the emergency room more than 6 times. Now, I am even more terrified to be alone. Story 22. Surviving an extreme suicide attempt. I have tried to kill myself multiple times and kept surviving, even ending up in the intensive care unit not dead. I am starting to think I need to just jump off a building, but knowing my luck, I will either become a vegetable or quadriplegic instead of dying. Story 23. Home intrusion and dying in a car accident have been my biggest fears since I was a child. Now that I am a mother, it is still those fears plus something happening to my children or something happening to me that will leave my children without a mother, like I was. Story 24. To be just like my mother. I do not want to be like my father either, but it says a lot when I would rather be like a controlling psychopath than my mother. My father was raised by good people, so he is not too bad as long as you do not live with him or upset him. Story 25. My only fear is not finding a stable career before I turn 30 in a year. I know I have a high intelligence quotient and an even higher work ethic and desire to succeed. I want to join the electricians' union or some type of well-paying trade very badly. It bothers me repeatedly in my sleep. The Arizona job market is stagnant and unappealing right now. Story 26. Losing touch with my friend when he moves away. He helped me when I was at my lowest. The truest friend I ever had. Story 27. 1. Being in a situation where I cannot immediately leave, such as sitting in a church or a school lecture while the instructor is talking, and there are 200 other people watching in silence and wondering why I keep getting up to leave and come back every 20 minutes. Losing my loved ones. Large bodies of water. Fire. I should never have watched the station nightclub fire. These are not listed in any particular order. Story 28. Heights and air travel. I do not like the thought of there being nothing but 30,000 feet of air between the giant metal tube I am in and the ground. Story 29. Not being successful, not in terms of getting lots of money. I just mean I am terrified that some version of my dream career will not work out and I will never succeed at what I am truly passionate about. Story 30. I will succeed, but somehow say and do the wrong thing, completely humiliating myself. Everyone will laugh directly at me, and I will carry that reputation on and on until I can't take it anymore. Story 31. My dad used to be really cool before he ruined his own life. I am afraid my family will not get to say goodbye to him before he dies. Part of me still sees him as my papa. Story 32. Dying alone. As someone who was recently in a relationship and broke up, I forgot how lonely being single and introverted is. I don't have a close group of friends that I talk to every day. My absolute worst fear in this world is dying at home alone and sitting there without help for a long time. The story of Joyce Vincent really gave me nightmares for a while because I can see myself going the same way. Story 33. I understand that you are trying to be kind, but traffic is not the place for trust falls. Please follow the rules and keep moving. Story 34. Losing a loved one. I lost a loved one as a child, and even after 2 decades, the emptiness is still very evident. It scares me like nothing else ever did. I do not want to lose a loved one again, not to sickness or accident, especially when they are young and have a good life left to live. Story 35. Losing my mother before I could repay her for all the sacrifices she made to give us a good life after my father left us for his mistress. Story 36. The future artificial intelligence overlord will analyze all of these responses and use them against you in some Orwellian torture facility someday. Story 37. I am not going to tell you the biggest, but one of the biggest has to be getting attacked in the bath or the shower. The attacker makes some random comment like, "Oh, you have dimples on your hips? Kinda gross." Now I have to defend myself while being self-conscious, naked, and probably trying to somehow get their approval. Story 38. Too really. Losing my sight. As much as I prefer being on my own, I think watching everyone around me leaving by some way or another and being the only one left behind. Story 39. If you had asked me a few months ago, I would have said heights or the ocean. However, it seems my biggest fear now is being abandoned. Story 40. I have two fears. Irrational fear, getting eaten or attacked by a bear. Logical fear, one day not being able to figure it out. Life gets rough, life gets hard, but I always say, it's okay. I'll figure it out. And I always do. But it scares me to think that maybe one time I won't. I won't be able to figure it out, and my world is going to come tumbling down. I'm about 2 weeks from being done for. Story 41. Living too long. I have overstayed my welcome on this earth, and I am a troubled person. I will not do anything drastic, but I do not think I will fight too hard for my life. Story 42. I cut my thumb and then it reopened after it had healed. I didn't rest enough, and then I accidentally pulled off the bandage. The bandage just didn't work. I am sorry. I am just very upset right now. Story 43. My biggest fear is that I will be the last one in my family alive. I do not want to bury anyone else that I love. I hate funerals, but if there has to be another, please let it be mine. Story 44. One day, I will not be able to find anything good in my life. Life will become so hard that I will not be able to live anymore. Story 45. I am afraid that it will soon be impossible to leave my country. In that case, there is a high probability of dying in a trench. Story 46. I have two concerns. First, that my wife or my son might get a serious illness like cancer. Second, that I might get seriously ill and die, and my wife and son would suffer. I do not want them to feel pain and sorrow because I died. Story 47. Panic attacks are a result of fear that causes intense feelings of terror. They are not a good experience and can be completely frightening. Story 48. The ocean at night. I went on a cruise once and made the mistake of looking down at the dark water from my balcony. Something about not knowing what is beneath those black waves terrifies me. Story 49. Crashing or drowning with no chance of survival. Also a love that leaves you so broken you can literally feel it in your heart, mind, and body too. Story 50. Whatever we do does not matter in the end, so we might as well do something we love or at least enjoy if possible. With all this inflation, not many of us have the luxury to find a passion or an interest career-wise. We end up stuck with jobs, adding years of regret because we have wanted to do something else. Story 51. Wasps. I am really frightened of their aggressive movements and how close they come to you. The buzzing to me sounds like very loud drilling. I also jump even at the sight of them. I have had my fair share of stings, and they are painful. Living in constant fear of when my next epileptic seizure will occur is also very challenging. Story 52. Last year, almost everything I feared happened. After that, the fear disappeared. I am not saying I have no fears, but there is no active fear I can name right now. Story 53. Never finding anyone who can avoid neglecting basic responsibilities while in a relationship. I tell them my boundaries and warn that if they cross them, I will find out and there will be consequences. They must not believe me because they always choose to test me, which is honestly exhausting. I don't want to die alone, but I don't want to settle for someone who doesn't truly love me. I know a few people who chose that path, and they are not happy at all. They may be okay with other aspects of life, but not with their partner. Story 54. Becoming homeless would be very difficult. I work very hard to ensure my house will be paid off as quickly as possible, and then I work even harder to have a higher amount of savings to fall back on in case I lose my job. If I lose my job now, I would be financially secure for about 6 to 7 years if I am unable to find another job. Story 55. Not being able to control my body is frightening. If you have ever experienced paralysis, you understand how scary it can be. You tell your body to open your eyes or move your arm, but there is no response. You hear everything around you and the people trying to wake you up. You feel them tugging your arm and shaking you, but your body does not respond. This experience makes you wonder if this is what it feels like to die. Story 56. Being trafficked, living under military rule, dying before achieving something meaningful, losing someone close to me. Story 57. That I will never find anyone. I will be alone. I am worried I may already be going down that road. Either that or having barbed wire shoved up my private parts. That is something I hate. Story 58. Legitimately, the ocean is a terrifying eldritch horror. It is ironic that I love cruises, and one of my favorite games is Subnautica. Story 59. Being a waste of the leaf belonging to the tree that provided oxygen to my mother while I was in her womb. Story 60. Not really a fear, but being able to conceptualize large numbers in relation to time causes me regular bouts of existential dread. Story 61. Dog. I was attacked by 8 to 9 stray dogs at once in India when I was 6 or 7 years old. I was just walking, and suddenly a group of them attacked me from behind. Now I live in the United States, and I have broken up with people, not visited relatives, avoided church gatherings, and changed barbers if I see dogs invading personal space. I recently started going out to walk 10,000 steps a day, and 2 to 3 people on the trail walk with dogs not on a leash. Now I have bought a treadmill. I have been to the zoo with no fear of other animals. I have had 3 cats crawl on my shoulders and lap, but dogs are a totally different animal to me. Puppies are fine. Dogs with their tongues out and randomly looking down but still observing you are the most frightening to me. Story 62. Losing my parents. They have been there through every catastrophic moment of my life, and there have been many. They are always there for me, no matter what. Story 63. Something horrific is happening to my children. A terminal diagnosis, traumatic death, murder, rape. It is difficult to even type those scenarios out. Their suffering would kill me. Story 64. A house fire while I am sleeping in an apartment building with 6 families. I need to be alert and not deeply asleep. Story 65. Empty spaces and voids, generally being in a situation or place where I feel like I cannot hide or everything looks too uniform. Empty warehouses, overly flat stretches of land without trees to create a break between the grass and horizon, large arenas without people in them, and so on. Story 66. Trying really hard for something and then failing. This is why I do not try, and why I am going to end up failing high school. Story 67. Dementia, Alzheimer's, or anything that makes me lose who I am. Not death, though. Death is just the end, and as a consciousness, I'm somehow fine with that. But being conscious and then not being conscious is, for some reason, terrifying to think about living with. Story 68. What do you mean spiders are afraid of me as I am of them? I do not care. It must leave my room immediately or I will rain down the God Emperor's wrath. Story 69. That this love I harbor inside me will never have a place to go. There has to be someone who deserves to receive it. Story 70. Being in a situation where I am alone with my kids and something tragic happens to me, for example, a car accident where I die and they do not. I am not there to comfort them through the situation. I am their safe space. Their world would be destroyed, and I cannot even handle the thought of that. Story 71. Something happening to my family members or my cat. I have rare but horrible nightmares of losing my cat. It happens when I need to take him to a veterinarian. I end up terrified and crying either in the dream or when I wake up. The first time I had that dream, I also had sleep paralysis. I was about to reach out to him but was terrified and couldn't wake myself up no matter how many sounds or small movements I made. He rushed to me and kept moving until he jumped on my rib. I was able to snap out of the paralysis from the pain. That was the day I was going to take him to get neutered, but ended up delaying it for a few months. I also have fears about drowning and large bodies of water. Regarding pregnancy and birth, I don't know a single woman in my family who is a close blood relative that didn't have complications and at least an almost traumatic birth. This includes my mom, who spent 13 hours in labor in the delivery ward until they were about to take her in for a cesarean section. I decided to come out with my dignity semi-intact. Also, being infertile is a big fear. I don't want to have children, but still want to be able to have the choice. Story 72. I will never figure out what I truly want to do with my life, and I will spend most of it working government jobs that make me want to drive off the road every day on my way in. I truly envy people who know what they want to do and just work until they achieve it. I just want to find something I am passionate about and dedicate myself to it. Story 73. Suffer a stroke and wake up completely unresponsive with severe consequences. Yet fully aware of what is happening and what has happened. This condition will remain until I die. Story 74. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Story 75. Dying before my husband. He leaves most of the paperwork to me and gets upset if I ask him to help. He would really be clueless if I went first. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.